ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी। मूकं करोति वाचालं अंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपात्तमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। अथ तृतीयोऽध्यायः।
अथ तृतीयोऽध्यायः।
श्लोक नंबर 36। अर्जुन उवाच
अर्जुन उवाच
अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयम् पापं चरति पूरुषः अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः। We saw this shloka. Impelled by what people Anichannapi, even though they don't want, they commit papam as though they are niyojitaha balad, as though they are forcefully impelled to do. For that, Bhagavan Krishna answers, which we were discussing in the last class, this shloka number 37. We will read. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri
Bhagavan
Bhagavacha
Kama Yesha Krodha Yeshaha
Kamayesha
Yoguna Samudbhavaha
Yogunasamudbhavaha
Ahashano Mahapapma
Mahasano Mahapama
Vidyena Miha Vairinam
Vidyenam
Vairinam
Yeshaha Kamaha Ayam Krodaha. This Papa Charanam. This Kama is the Papa Charane Balat Prayojakaha. That is Kamaha. Kamaha means a desire that is not the desire which is legitimate, or the desire in keeping with dharma. Here in this context, we have to take the word kama as that which forces you to do the papa acharanam, papa karma, because it is born of rajoguna, and that results in the form of krodha. When the kama is obstructed, that becomes krodha. So krodha is a result of obstruction of your desires. The desire also, kama also, in the form of raga and dvesha. Raga is desire for what you want. Dvesha is desire for what you avoid. That is also a desire only. Avoidance. So that also becomes the cause for krodha. If you get what you don't want, then you get angry. You get krodha, anger. When you don't get what you want, that then also result in krodha. So therefore, krodha is a result of this unrefined desires. Here the kama, the desires are binding desires. Not fulfilling that will result in krodha. Not accomplishing that will result in krodha. We have to know the difference between the kama here and kama in other place, where Bhagavan Krishna says the karma which is in keeping with dharma is myself. Dharma viruddhaha kamaha agamasmi. In one place he says, later we will see. There, the kama which is in keeping with dharma is myself, he says. Dharma viruddha kamaha agamasmi. So therefore, here the word kama, we have to take it as the kama means illegitimate or the binding desires. Why? Because they are born of rajoguna samudbhavaha. The word kama is used in many places in Gita. If you remember the second chapter, in the Sita Prajna Lakshana, Bhagavan Krishna said, Rajahati yada kama. You have seen Sita Prajna Lakshana. There he said, Rajahati yada kama. Sarvan parthamanokatan. Atman evatmanat tushtaha. Sita Prajnastadochyate. That the word kaman is a sarvan kaman prajahati, the one who gives up one who gives up all the karma. That is karma, that is the form of this that is raga dvesha. The one who gives up the karma, binding desires, karma. Desires which bind a person, that he gives up. So not talking about non-binding desires. Yeah, Jnani can have non-desires, and that desires are non-binding desires. They are not born of Rajoguna. Those karma which Jnanis have, that is only for the purpose of the welfare of the people. So it is for the greater welfare. That karma is higher karma it is the refined one. It is non-binding desire. Similarly, in another place also, the same section, Bhagavan Krishna has used the word karma. Not in the same place in the letter, the 15th chapter we will see. The 15th chapter he says, Nirmana moha jita sanga doshaha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha. That is the vinivritta kamaha. 15th chapter, what we chant before food. We chant 15th chapter, small chapter. There in the chapter 5th shloka. Vandvai vimukta sukadukka sanyai tacchantyamoda padamovyayam tat. Talking about the people who are free from nirmana moha jita sanga doshaha, free from pride, free from delusion. Those who have overcome the problem of raga, the attachment. And those who are vinivritta kamaha, that is what we are interested in. Vinivritta kamaha, free from desires. Free from desires. They alone reach padam, avyayam padam, gachanti. They alone gain that avyayam padam, moksha padam. So vinivritta kamaha. Therefore, free from the impulse, free from the force of the karma. That is important. One has to know how to manage the karma, the desires. As long as the desires are not binding, it is fine. When it becomes binding, then it becomes a problem. Why? It converts into krodha. When it converts into krodha, it stops your thinking, you lose your viveka, then you forget whatever you have learned, whatever values you have followed, everything will go for a big six. And the spiritual life will be ruined. Therefore, one has to be highly alert. And particularly human beings have to be alert. In Vivek Chudamani, Shankara Bhagavad Pada beautifully says, Shabdadif panchabireva pancha panchatva mapuhu swagunena baddhaha Kuranga matanga patanga meena Ranga naraf panchabiranjita Ranchitakim. That is Kuranga matanga, that line only we are interested. Kuranga matanga patanga meena bringaha. It is these Kuranga, the moth, Matanga, then this Kuranga is Kuranga, Matanga, Patanga, Meena, Bringaha. The 5 things are talked about. A moth, a deer, elephant, fish, and bee. These, each one of them have a strong sense, particular sense. Fish has got, for example, fish has got the sense organ that tastes very strong. The deer has got a strong sense of smell. I mean, it has got attachment for that fragrant smell. The musk deer, the musk which comes from itself, it's fragrant, it looks for that. Similarly, the moth and the bee, etc. So each of them have they have got that their sense organ. That particular sense organ of these 5 are very powerful. For the human being, all these 5 senses are together in human being. A Manushya, human being, have all these senses very strong. He is endowed with all these senses very strong. With each sense organ being powerful, these five, they find themselves mostly in problem. Then what to talk about human beings who have all the five sense organs very strong all the time. Therefore, he says, Doshena Tibro Vishayaha, Krishna Sarpa Vishadapi. Sense objects are more fearful, more poisonous, even the poison of a cobra. Krishna Sarpa Vishadapi. Krishna Sarpa is cobra, the black serpent. Why he says, Visham Nikanti Bhoktaram Drashtaram Chakshushaptayam. This cobra, the poison of cobra will kill you only when it bites you. Whereas the vision of sense objects, that itself is fatal. That itself will kill you. So, therefore, the sense objects, the attachment to the sense objects, the raga and dvesha for the sense objects, it's so powerful. Therefore, it is highlighted here. And in Ashtavakra Gita, it says, Vishayan Vishavatyaja. The sense objects has to be shunned like a visha. The same idea only Bhashyakara also said. Krishna Sarpad Api Visham Asti Tesha. And also, those who are overpowered by kama, they will not have shame, they will not have fear. Kama Turanam na bhayam na lajja. They don't have they don't have shame, they don't have fear. So therefore only their acharana will be without shame. Without shame, their acharana will be. So therefore, na kamadrisho ripuhu, there is no enemy like a kama. See, there are many Vakya statements are there, and even in Gita it is talked about, therefore kama. That is why Buddha also told, desire is the root cause of all evils. The desire what we talk about here, it is binding desires. Desires are of two types, binding and non-binding. As long as the desires are not binding, there is no problem. But if they are binding, binding means without which you can't live. If you feel that that desire is a binding desire, that will be a problem. That is what is talked about. That kama only talked about here. Yeshaha kamaha. The kama is born of rajoguna. Rajoguna samudbhavaha. And from the kama only the krodha, the anger. Anger is a vikruti, is a form of nothing but a form of kama only. Where there is krodha, we can understand that it is nothing but a manifestation of kama. The kama only has changed its form, has changed its dress into krodha. It's a product of kama only. Why it is specified specifically? Because krodha destroys. It is the resultant of kama, the krodha, it destroys a person. So therefore it is specifically mentioned here. Rajoguna samudbhavaha, they are born of rajoguna. Samudbhavaha, samyak udbhavaha, janma yasya, kamasya, rajoguna samudbhava, rajoguna utpattikaha ityartaha. It is born of rajoguna, and therefore they are mahashanaha. Mahashanaha. Ashana, just now we saw in the Gita class. Ashanam means food. Mahashanaha, a voracious, a great eater. Mahashanaha. Gluttonous. Mahashanaha. Mahabhojanaha. Voracious eater. And Mahapapma. Mahapapaha. It is a great Papa. Papma. Mahapapman. Papan nakaranta shabda. Mahapapman. So, Mahashanaha, Mahapapma. It is a papa. Papa is Papa only. Will not translate the Papa, the word as the sinner and all. Mahashanaha Vareshes eater, and it is a Maha Papa. That Mahashanaha is the insatiable hunger. Maha Papa is that which creates greater Papa. So some desires are so powerful that you compromise with dharma, the values. So therefore, they are Mahapapa. They are the one which makes you do adharmic karma. Therefore, they are called by adharmic karma. You get papam. Therefore, they are Mahapapa. Iti. Mahapapa, Mahashanaha. The words refer to Kama and Krodha. Kama is has got the Kama has got the name Mahashanaha, voracious eater, and Mahapapa is that makes you commit papa. Therefore, they are Mahapapa. You compromise with the values. You compromise with dharma. Therefore, you take to adharma acharanam. Therefore, Mahapapa. Why it is called Mahapapa? Because you commit papam. That's why it's called. Then the cause of that papam is this krodha, kama and krodha. So therefore, they are called Mahapapa. Vidhi, may you know. Vidhi is lot lakara. Yeah, vidhi. Yena vairinam iha. May you know this kama is kama and krodha, the biggest enemy. Vairinam, biggest enemy. Vairinam is enemy. May you know. Iha vairinam. May you know here. Vairinam. They are the biggest enemy. Shatrum iti vidhi. Kama and krodha, which are born of this rajoguna, and they are the voracious eater. They are the committers of the great Papa. May you know them to be the greatest enemy. There is no other enemy other than this. That is why he said, Aha Ripuhu. There is no Ripu, there is no greater enemy other than this. Why it is a greater enemy? It is not just simply said without reason. It is said, it has got a reason. That is said in the next shloka. Because of this Kama, the Kama covers your intellect, your buddhi, and that is Ajnanam, that is Avidya. That is beautifully said here. The intensity of the desire, based that the when we read the shloka, we'll understand how this the degree of the intensity of desires, and there is and the drishtanta, an example. The intensity of desires is presented presented in three ways. Three kinds of the intensity of desires. And for that, three drishtanta, three examples are given. We will read that. Next shloka. Why the kama is the biggest enemy is explained here. With the drishtanta, beautiful drishtanta. Dhumena vriyate vannihi.
Dhumena
vriyate
vriyate
vannihi.
Yatha darsho malena cha.
Yatha darsho malena cha.
Yatolbena vrito garbhaha.
Yato
Yatolbena
vrito
garbhaha.
garbhaha.
Tatha tene damavritam.
Tatha
Tene
tene damavritam.
This kama, as I told, these binding desires, because the desires are binding. Without that, the word the kama meaning desire, it can also mean the objects of desire. But here we take the meaning as desire. So without gaining the object of desires, what it will do is it will rob your viveka shakti, your capability to discriminate. It will rob. Therefore, you won't be able to clearly discern, distinguish what is dharma, what is adharma. This dharma, adharma viveka, nitya, anitya viveka, atma, anatma viveka, satyam, nitya viveka, that will get stultified. So you need at least dharma, adharma, viveka for lead a sane life in the world. And if you are a mumukshu, then you need Nitya Anitya Viveka, Satyam Nitya Viveka you need. So the Viveka is required all the way. So that Viveka Shakti is stultified by this Kama. Kama overpowers your Viveka Shakti. Therefore, Tena idam avrutam. You have to see the last line of this shloka. Tena referring to the Kamena. Kamena avrutam. By Kama idam avrutam. Kamena idam avrutam. By Kama, avrutam means covered. By Kama, it is avrutam, it is covered. Idam referring to jnana. Idam referring to the viveka jnana, the viveka shakti. Tena idam jnanam avrutam. Tena idam jnanam is the knowledge. That knowledge is not possible without viveka shakti. Therefore, the viveka shakti is covered. The jnanam is covered. Therefore, viveka shakti is covered. It is stultified. Then the three drishtanta, the three examples are given. How this, what will be the thickness, the intensity of the desires, the thickness, the layer of the desires, how it covers the jnanam, this viveka shakti. It is given. The intensity of desires are the degree of intensity of desires are presented through three drishtanta, three examples. Because the intensity is different, therefore the prayatna on the part of the mumukshu, the sadhaka also has to be different. We will discuss when we discuss this shloka further. Here let us see the drishtanta. Dhumena avriyate vannihi. That is one drishtanta, one example. Adarshaha malena cha. Malena adarsha. Dhumena vannihi, number one. Malena adarshaha, number two. Then ulbhena garbaha, number three. Dhumena avriyate vannihi. Vanni means agni. Agnihi. Dhumena, by smoke. Avriyate. Avriyate is the kriya covered. Avritaha. Dhumena agnihi avritaha, by the smoke, the fire is covered. Fire is jyoti, the light which illumines. When smoke is there around, you cannot see the fire. The fire loses, loses the illumining. It fails to illumine the surroundings. When it is surrounded by smoke, the fire which is prakashatmakam, that will cease to do the illumining job, lighting up the things around. That cannot do when it's surrounded by smoke. When smoke surrounds the fire, then the fire cannot illumine the objects around. That is one type of covering. So he has given three examples, three drishtanta, indicating three types of covering. How the jnanam is covered by this kama. For covering, we have got three examples, three drishtanta. So, as the smoke is covered, as the smoke covers the agni, similarly the kama, the desires, cover. Covering means obstructs, inhibits the viveka shakti. Viveka shakti. Therefore, the viveka shakti cannot function, as the fire cannot illumine, even though it has got the capacity to illumine. It cannot illumine because of the smoke. Similarly, the kama, it covers the jnanam, the viveka shakti. Therefore, viveka shakti cannot function completely. That is one type. One type of avaranam, one type of covering. And second is yata adarshaha malena cha. Adarsha is mirror, darpanaha. Mala is dust. The mirror is covered by dust. When the mirror is covered by dust, can the mirror reflect? Can the mirror do the job of reflection? Cannot do the job of reflection. It cannot reflect light. It cannot reflect you. So it fails to do the job of reflection because it is covered by the dust. Similarly, kama covers the viveka shakti. It is second type. So compared to, can compare the drishtantas. First one is smoke. Smoke is the cover. Second one, dust is the cover. What is covered in the first example is fire. What is covered in the second example by the dust is the mirror. The third one, ulbena avruto garbhaha. Fetus is covered by the womb. That is a thicker cover. Very thick cover. Fetus is covered by womb. Similarly, the kama is covered by the viveka. The kama is covered, this viveka is covered by the kama. Viveka shakti is covered by the kama. So, for the kama for the kama covering the vivek shakti being covered by kama, three drishtantas. The three drishtantas showing you the giving the presenting the 3 degrees intensity of desires. The first example, Dhumena avriyate vannihi, there, that is a drishtanta for the desires which are weak, which are feeble, and it can go away with a little viveka. Like the smoke is that, so to drive away the smoke, you do fanning. You just do fan the smoke, it will go away. So by a little effort of fanning, you can drive away the smoke so that you can see the fire. So when the desires are weak or feeble, when you can handle, when you can manage it well, then Viveka Shakti will function. That is the first Drishtanta. Now, if the desires are little more powerful, little more intense, like the dust covering the mirror, there you cannot do fanning. By fanning, you cannot remove the dust. You have to wipe out the dust. You have to take a cloth and you have to wipe the surface of the mirror, remove the dust. So therefore, there you need more viveka or more power required, more viveka shakti required to remove the kama. So you have to use your willpower and viveka to remove the dust, to remove this kama. Kama is the dust which covers your viveka shakti. Therefore, you need to put more effort. That is second type. The third type is the strong kama, strong desire, and that is compared to garbha, which is covered by ulba, the fetus covered by the womb. That viveka shakti or the willpower cannot do. You have to wait, as you have to wait for the baby to come out. Similarly, it will take time. It will take time to manage the kama. So, because the kama is so strong, the kama is so strong, so therefore it will take time. Even if the person is a mumukshu, he cannot immediately remove kama, handle kama just by willpower, by viveka shakti, not possible. So it requires effort and requires time also. You have to wait it out. Therefore, one has to, depending on the intensity of desires, one has to put effort. For the first one, for the feeble desire, a little effort is enough. For the second type, more effort is required. For the third type, time also required. Effort plus time. Continuous effort, and you have to wait for the desire to slowly to extinguish. You cannot immediately wipe out the desire. It is like a person going at a 150-kilometer speed. You cannot stop the vehicle immediately. It takes time for the vehicle to stop. So therefore, when a person with a desire, strong desire, the person having strong desire, with a strong desire, when he has strong desire, how can he immediately uproot the desire? That is not possible, and that will be detrimental also. Therefore, the continuous effort and time also is required. That is why the example is given. Ulbena avrtaha garbaha. That time factor is involved. As the takes time, 10 months for the child to come out from the womb of the mother. Similarly, it takes time. It takes time to conquer. Conquer is not the right word, to manage the desires, because the desire is so intense, so strong. So therefore, not just willpower or prayatna, the effort is enough. Time also a factor, important factor. So the three example, the three drishtanta is to give you the idea of the intensity of desires. It is not there. There are three types of desires. Three types of desire, or the intensity of desires. It is just to present. It is just to give you an idea that by a willpower, by a little viveka, one can overcome the feeble desire. With viveka and more effort, with little more effort, one can overcome certain desires. But there are certain desires which are very strong, which needs some time also. That cannot be immediately overcome. That is what the drishtanta means here. So tena, referring to kamena, idam avritam, this jnanam, the vivek shakti is avritam. Vivek shakti is avritam means not that vivek shakti is completely covered. If completely covered, then how can you remove kama by vivek shakti? Vivek shakti, because of the cover, it is not fully operative. It is operative, but not completely. So with whatever vivek shakti you have to manage the kama. And the kama of three types. The three types of kama have to be managed with the viveka shakti, the willpower, effort, and time factor also is involved. Therefore, the last drishtanta tells you an important thing. One need not get dejected or disappointed or not able to manage the desires. As long as the commitment is there, for moksha, then even the strongest desire can be slowly overcome or managed over a period of time. So it's a matter of time. Time factor is involved because the karma was not cultivated immediately. It was not cultivated yesterday. It has been cultivated for a period of time. It has grown into a big vriksha. You cannot immediately cut it out, root it out. So it takes time. Therefore, one has to write it out. That is the idea. The third drishtanta tells you that. Then the next shloka we will read. Avritam jnanametena
आवृतं ज्ञानमेतेन
jnanino nityavairina
ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा
कामरूपेण कौन्तेय
कामरूपेण कौन्तेय
दुष्पूरेणानलेन च
दुष्पूरेणानलेन च.
Before we proceed, there is one commentator. He explains the three drishtanta. Atma jnana avarane pratama drishtanta. Atma is covered, the knowledge that Atma, what Atma is, the knowledge of Atma is covered for that first example. Anatma jnana avarane dvitiya drishtanta. The second drishtanta is for Anatma avaranam. Atmanatma jnana matra avarane tritiya drishtantah iti vivekah. So the Pratama Drishtanta is for Atma Jnana Avaranam. Second Drishtanta is for Anatma Jnana Avaranam. The third Drishtanta is for Atmanatma Jnana Matra Avaranam. The Trivida Drishtantaha for Trivida Viveka. Three types of Viveka. Three types of Drishtanta for three different types of the Kama for which the Viveka is required. That is, he says. A commentator, he explains that. Anyway, in the Bhashyam class, we will see in detail. So this shloka, Avrutam Jnanametena Jnanino Nityavairina Kamarupena Kaunteya Dushpurena Nalena Cha E Kaunteya E Kunti Putra Etena Kamarupena Nityavairina Kamarupena Etena referring to this which is Kamarupa. Kamarupa is Kama Namakena, that Kama Icha Trishna, that Kama Kyena Kamarupena. Jnaninaha Nityavairina. Jnaninaha, here it is not the Jnanis. Here it is Vivekinaha. Here we have to take the meaning of the word Jnani to be the Vivekis. Why? It covers the Viveka of the Vivekis, Viveka of the person. Therefore, Etena Kamarupena Etena, and that covers the Jnani, the Viveka of the Jnani. Therefore, Jnaninaha is Vivekinaha. Nitya Vairina. Vairin is enemy. So, Sarvada, it is Nitya. Nitya is Sarvada, always. Always it is the enemy, the Shatru, Nitya Shatru. Nitya Vairina, Nitya Vairin, Nitya Vairi. Nitya Vairi means Nitya Shatru. Vairina, Tritya Vibhakti. So, it always the Shatru, Nitya Shatruna. Why it is Shatru? Because it is a Pratibandha. We saw it before. Tayor Navashamaga Chet. Tau hi asya Paripantinau. So, Paripantinau. They are Paripanti. Paripantina. Sarvada Paripantina. Kamena. So, that Kama, which is always the inimical, Dushpurena Analenacha. So, this Kama, Jnanam Avrutam, Viveka Shakti is covered by Etena Kamena Dushpurena Analenacha. This Kama is like fire. What fire? The fire which is not satiable. It is always hungry. The fire is called Anala. Why it is called Anala? Alam na vidyate yasya. That is called fire. Alam means enough. It doesn't say enough. The more you give, the more it will ask for, the more it will consume. The more you give, the more it will glow. It will grow in intensity, and it will ask for more. So, Dushpurena Analena Cha. Dushpurena means difficult to fulfill. This Kama, when it is allowed to grow, it is difficult to be fulfilled. Dukkena Puraha, Puranam, Yasya. So, therefore, it is difficult to fulfill. Dushpurena Analena. As a fire cannot be fulfilled, similarly, this Kama cannot be fulfilled. Kama Rupena in the form of this Etena, this in the form of Kama. Icha Rupena, Kama Rupena, this in the form of Kama, which is difficult to fulfill, like the fire. Jnaninaha Nitya Vairina Bhavati. This is always an enemy, constant enemy, permanent enemy of a Jnani. Jnani referring here, as I told, it is referred to a Viveki here. Doesn't mean a wise person. It means here a person who is well informed. That will be the right translation. Well informed person. not a wise person. Jnani means not the Sitaprajna. Here, Jnani is also, the word means sadhaka is a well-informed person. A sadhaka should be well-informed. The spiritual seeker must be well-informed. So for him, this karma is always a constant enemy. He has to fight with this karma 24/7, no respite. You have to be highly alert. That's what is said here. Because it is Nitya Vairi, always ready to devour you. So therefore, Nitya Vairina, Kama Rupena, Nitya Vairina, Jnaninaha. Therefore, one has to be highly alert. Permanent enemy for a well-informed person. And this karma covers the jnanam. This karma avrutam. Jnanam etena kamena jnanam avrutam. Jnanam is viveka. The viveka is covered by this karma. Therefore, this karma, which is a constant enemy to these jnanis, this well-informed person, it is a constant enemy and it is difficult to satiate, difficult to fulfill. Take Kaunteya. Then the next shloka number 40. Indriyani mano buddhihi
Indriyani mano
Indriyani mano buddhi
syadhisthana muchyate
syadhisthanamuchyate
etair vimohayatyeshaha
एतैर्विमोहयत्येषः
jnanamavritya dehinam.
ज्ञानमावृत्य देहिनम्.
How this karma causes problem to a sadhaka, to jiva, that is being said here. So indriyani mano buddhihi. What are the bases? Like air base. What is the base? Sitting where this karma operate and causes problem to the sadhakas. Indriyani. Indriyani is an important locus, the place where the karma, from where the karma operates. Then second one, manaha, then buddhihi. Even though indriyas are jada, but it is through which the karma operates, backed up by the mind, and of course buddhi. Asya adhishthanam uchyate. Adhishthanam, the locus of this. Asya referring to kasya. Referring to what? Kasya referring to this karma only. Because that is what is being talked about. So these shlokas, all these shlokas they talk about the karma. Karma, the desire which covers the jnanam of a person, which stultifies the jnanam of the person, because of which he commits the papam. And the different types or the different intensities of desires are there, that we presented through three drishtanta. So that desire, how do they operate? From where they operate? That is being said here. The locus. The locus are the senses, the mind, and the intellect, the buddhi. Therefore, asya, the word asya referring to this kama. Asya, kamasya, adhishtanam, the locus, the activity, the center of activity, from where it operates. Sense organs, indriyani, mind, and buddhi. Sense organs, they provide just the data to the mind. They are just faithful reporters. They report what they perceive, and that they present to the mind. So initially the sense organs, then later it becomes the adhishtanam for kama is mind. The mind becomes the adhishtanam for kama. Once the sense objects, once the indriyas bring the knowledge of the sense objects to the mind, then what happens in the mind? In the mind, the vritti is created, thoughts are created, and that you keep ruminating on the thoughts. That's called Vishaya Dhyanam. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha, refer to the shloka in the Siddhaprajna Lakshanam. So you keep ruminating on the thought. That is called avritti, repetition of what is presented by the sense organs. So you ruminate on the sense objects. You meditate on the sense objects. So when you keep on ruminating, then when Viveka Shakti is not operative, when Viveka is less, not operative, because it is covered by Ajnanam, when Viveka doesn't function, when Viveka is less or Viveka is not complete, the Buddhi also. See, for the Buddhi to be have Viveka, it should be endowed with Jnanam. It should be endowed with knowledge. The knowledge is not there. Therefore, Buddhi also goes by the goes by what the mind says, and therefore it does wrong judgment. So therefore, because Buddhi is a final faculty, it's a final thing, the faculty which decides. So it also supports the thought of the mind. So therefore, it is yields itself to the kama. So therefore, Indriya, Mana, Buddhi. Starting from Indriya, the sense objects are reported by the Indriya, then it goes to mind, and finally Buddhi also gives clearance. Because Buddhi doesn't have Viveka, because it is Avritam. The Buddhi, the Jnanam is covered by Kama. Therefore, they become the nourishment center. They become the nourishment centers of Kama. Etena Deginam Vimohayati. Deginam referring to the person, the individual, who is covered by this. This Kama deludes the individual avritya by covering the Viveka Shakti. Etaihi vimohayati yeshaha jnanam avritya deginam. So the Kama deludes a person by covering his knowledge. Etaihi jnanam avritya deginam jnanam etaihi deginam jnanam avritya vimohayati. Vimohayati from the mukh dhatu. It is Visheshena or complete. The upasarga tells you that is completely deludes the person. Vimohayati. Yeshaha etaihi vimohayati. Jnanam avritya, covering the jnanam, covering the Viveka Shakti, covering the Viveka Shakti of this individual, the Deginam. So, Yeshaha referring to Kamaha. This Kama, etaihi referring to this Indriyani Mano Buddhi, the three things. So, Kamaha etaihi referring to Indriyani Mano Buddhi, Bahuvachanam it is. So, by these three nourishment centers or the base centers, activity centers, by this Jnanam Avritya, covering the Jnanam of whom? The individual, the Deginam. And what it does, Vimohayati, deludes. So this is what a Kama does. Desires does. Therefore, what is the cause for Jnanam, the Viveka Shakti, to be non-functional is Kamaha eva. Therefore, only Kama is to be handled. Desires have to be handled. The whole life is about handling the desires. Handling the desires out, handling the locus of the desires, the operating centers of desire, which are the Indriyani Manobuddhi. Start from Indriya, then mind, then Buddhi. Buddhi is a final clearing factor. It clears, it sanctions. So therefore, Buddhi has to be highly sharp. The Buddhi has to be endowed with Viveka. So the more the Viveka, then the intensity of Kama can be, the intensity of the effect of Kama can be reduced. Even if mind wants, the Buddhi says no. That is what that is what is the character of, or the nature of a mature person. Even if the mind wants, the Buddhi says no. So Indriyani, they report. Indriyani, they bring the Indriya Vishaya. Then at the level of mind, if you are not able to do, then at the level of Buddhi. Therefore, there are three centers, gates and gateways are there. Vishayas enter into the Buddhi and gets clearance by passing through the mind, manas, and the mind, and finally to the Buddhi. Therefore, only it is said Adhishtanam. Kamasya Adhishtanam Uchyate. And these three, Yeshaha, Kamaha, these three delude a person, but these three, the Kama with these three delude a person by covering the Jnanam. Iti. Then the next shloka. Therefore, since Kama is so powerful, Kama is so important and so powerful that has to be handled by the Buddhi. Therefore, Bhagavan Krishna in the next shloka says, Niyamya. In the beginning itself, you have some restraint, some say over the Kama. You manage in the beginning itself. If you allow to grow, then they will manage you. Kama will dictate you. Buddhi will become the servant. Kama will become the master. There will be a change in the role play. Therefore, in the next shloka, Bhagavan Krishna says, we will read that also. Tasmat Tvamindriyan Yadau.
Tasmat Tvamindriyan
Indriyan Yadav.
Yamya Bharatarshapha.
Niyamya
Yamya
Pamanam Prajahi Henam.
Papanam
Prajahinam.
Jnana Vijnana Nashanam.
Jnana
So Tasmat is the conclusion after discussing the discussion about the Kama, how the Kama deludes a Jiva by sitting or by operating through the three activity centers, the base centers, Indriya, Mana and Buddhi. Therefore, since the starting point is Indriya, from where it starts, therefore Indriyani Adav, in the beginning itself. That is why Indriya Nigraha we talk about in Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, Dhamma, then Shama. What is Dhamma? Indriya Nigraha, Dhammaha. Shamaha is Mano Nigraha. So managing the sense organs and managing the mind. So therefore Indriya, in the Adav means in the beginning. Tasmat, because of the reason said above. Therefore Tasmat Adav, in the beginning itself. Indriyani, this Pancha Jnana Indriyani, Karma Indriyani, Niyamya Nigrihya. In the beginning, you restrain them. Have some restraint. You master these sense organs. Then Indriyani. Therefore, it is Damaha. Niyamya. That from this only we Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti we talk about. Where it is mentioned in the Shastram Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, nowhere it is mentioned. All these are collected from the Shastram by the Acharyas. Different qualities are mentioned in different places. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, we know very well. Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi Shakta Sampattihi, Mumukshitvam. Where it is mentioned, which Upanishad it is mentioned, or even in Gita. It is not presented systematically in the Shastram. All these are given by the Acharyas in the tradition who knows the Shastram very well, who has a vision of the Shastram. They collected these qualities and presented in the form of Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. Even Kathopanishad that Nachiketa says, Tavaiva Vahaha Tavanutya, when Yamadharma Raja offers all the divine vehicle, damsels, all the wealth and long life, etc., is not enticed by the offerings of Yamadharma Raja. He says, you keep all these things with yourself. That shows Vairagya. From that, we can know the important the sadhanam, the quality which is required for a seeker, that is Vairagyam. And Viveka also talked about this in a place. So all these are collected. and presented in the form of sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. So therefore, when we talk about dhamma, indriya nigraha, from where we get? From Gita, you can see here, indriyani ado niyamya. Yam is restrained. Yamayati, yam. With ni upasarga, pratyaya, niyamya, nigrihya, restraining, withholding the indriyas. Therefore, dhamma. This is dhamma. Mastery over sense organs. Why it is required? Because papmanam, it is required in the beginning so that you can avoid the effect. The effect is which that karma will consume you, because it is mahashanaha mahapapma. So before it consumes you, you manage the sense organs in the beginning itself. And papmanam prajahi enam jnana vijnana nashanam. So this jnana vijnana from adav indriyan niyamya jnana vijnana nashanam papmanam enam prajahi. This papmanam jnana vijnana nashanam, it's a qualifier. It's a qualifier to this kama. Enam, the word is there in the shloka. Papmanam prajahi enam hi enam. Enam referring to the kama. Enam, what is enam? Etat shabda, another form is enam. Etam, eshaha eto yete, etam, enam, that enam. Etam or enam. So enam referring to this kamam. This kamam has got a qualifier, which is papmanam. Kamam, which is papmanam. Papamanam is, it's a papa. It is because it destroys, it makes you do papa, therefore it is papmanam, the cause of papa. And jnana vijnana nashanam, it stultifies or prevents you from gaining jnanam and vijnanam. Therefore, adav, in the beginning itself, indriyani niyamya iti. So, adav indriyani niyamya. After that, what? After dhamma, then you have shama. After dhamma, then you have shama. That is to be understood. So, therefore, first sense organs. Why sense organs? Because they are the grossest things. Sense organs bring sense objects. Sense objects are the grossest thing. Therefore, in the beginning, the grossest thing can be handled compared to handling the subtlest things. The mind handles subtle things. The indriyas handle gross objects. Therefore, with the help of mind, in the beginning itself, you can manage the gross things entering your mind. So the indriyani observes the gross objects. The mind, from what the indriyas bring, it is in the form of subtle things in the mind. So indriyani grasp gross objects. So when the vishayas which the indriyani brings, when it is the grossest stage itself, it is easier to manage. Therefore, dhamma. So mastery over sense organs. Mastery over the mind is second thing. Mastery over mind is second thing. Even if you don't have the mind management, mind control, even if your mind is not disciplined, but if you can forcefully discipline the sense organs, because it is grosser. The grossest thing can be controlled because it is visible for you. Therefore, it can be controlled. Once it becomes subtle in the form of thoughts in your mind, it becomes little more difficult. You need more viveka shakti. Therefore, only he says indriyani adav niyamya. For example, if you want to control your tongue from talking or tasting, that is possible. You can observe maunam, even though it is forceful, but it is possible. Forcefully, it can make you from not uttering bad words or even the maunam. Or you can refrain, make your tongue refrain from tasting. That is upavasa. So all these things are possible. So mastery over the organs by imposing strict disciplines on oneself. Therefore, indriyani adav niyamya. Because enam papmanam jnana vijnanashanam enam kamam. For niyamya, this is a karma. Niyamya is a having restrained. For that karma is enam. which has got the qualifier Papmanam Jnana Vijnana Nashanam. So Niyamya, where is the Kriya Padam? Prajahi. Prajahi. Jahi is the Kriya Padam. Prajahi. This is Jagi, the dhatu is Oha Tyage. It is the Oha Tyage, second Gana. So may you give up. Prajahi Yenam. May you give up. By handling the sense organs, this may you give up this Vikama, which is the destroyer of your Jnanam and Vijnanam and their Papanam. So Prajahi, may you become free from them. May you give up them. May you give up them. How? In the beginning, you start with Dhamma. So may you be free from Kama by Dhamma. And then we have to know. Then later Shama and then Viveka. So therefore, Indriya Nigraha is a first step. Indriya Nigraha is a first step for handling the Kama. How the Kama to be handled? When people ask this question, how Kama to be handled? The first step is Indriya Nigraha. Forcefully, one has to make the Indriya obey what he wants to, what he asks them to do. That is by imposing strict disciplines like Upavasa or Moolam or resorting to a place of solitude, like that. So therefore, Indriya Nigraha, that is the highlight of this shloka. Then the next shloka, 42, that we will see. We will see that in the next class. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stambhanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Jnanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidusura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha. Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद शरणजी.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
धन्यवाद कृष्ण जी.
धन्यवाद जी.